need everybody from around the world. Go to his social media page, follow him, follow his movements. It's crazy. A lot of young fighters making things happen. This is one. He's on the rise. Remember, you heard it from me first. Money May, and y'all already know the rest.
Future of the sport. Future of the sport. 1,000%.
Drop that low when you jabbing going forward. Your hand should not drop. You jabbing going forward, why you dropping your hand to your stomach or your hip? You going forward, you walking at a motherfucker, you gotta be coming from here. You coming from here. Boom, it's dropping here. If he has good timing, he gonna fire over top of that. At that point, you bringing your weight into his power, you creating the power for him. You walking at somebody, you gotta walk at them with the hands up here. You firing that guy, come back here, not down to your waist. Can't do that. That's a recipe for disaster. Everything you do gotta make sense. Boxers deal with a lot of logic. What logically makes sense to you? You got maybe 20 guys in the whole sport of boxing that are so special where they do everything that almost doesn't make sense to a normal thinking person. 20 guys. But everybody else gonna do what make logical sense. So if you thinking, I'm gonna do the most logical thinking thing, then you got a better than average chance of knowing where you are. If you do something that's off the wall, that mistake could cost you. You know, I watch all the fights as a fan.
I was gonna ask you that. Did you check out the fights last night, and what's your thoughts on the young prospects?
I thought there was some good fights. You know, I think boxing has situated itself to have an excellent future with young talent, the next up talent, and the current stars. But I see where, when you look at some of the current stars, Terrence Crawfords, the Earl Spencers, the Tank Davises, you know, the Deron Andersons, those guys, they're more locked into the technicality of the sport, as opposed to when I see some of the young talent, the young up-and-coming prospects. I see where they all make a lot of mistakes. I see where they
still see the amateurish mistakes, like they're going for the points instead of.
And not just that. I see where they're making technical mistakes that you don't see the guys at the top of the game make. You see the room for growth. You know, all of them. I put my son in the same boat too. All of them, you see the room for growth. You know, you see the openings where they could be better. And you know, I see some of the young prospects, you know, winning mid-level belts, and some of them winning major titles. And to me, I can tell my son, some of it is just right place, right time. That's what some of it is, you know. But the ones that are in those situations where you got to go deal with a monstrous type guy, you see the process is a little slower, more methodical, and smoother, because they know what you got to deal with, you know.
What's your thoughts on what you see at the 147 right now? And like you said, with the smaller titles, who currently has that NABF?
At 147, it's looking like the current regime is ready to make that migration to 154. Those guys seem like they're ready to go. You know, you've heard Earl talk about going to 54. You see Danny up at 54. You know, you see a lot of the other guys who are 47s fighting, you know, fights at 54. I think that that regime is going up to the next one, which will open up a lot of doors for young welterweights who are in waiting to get opportunities to be champions. But I definitely think that right now the technical portion has to get tighter for all of them. You know, I see some of them, you know, still chasing points.
We were talking about maybe like a few years ago how you said this next group of fighters coming in, they're not afraid of each other. They see so much of each other in the amateurs that you got fighters now calling out each other.
Yeah. I mean, when you look at it, all these guys knew each other in the amateurs. It's every generation. You know, they all knew each other in the amateurs. Earl Spence, Terrence Crawford, Gary, all of them knew each other because they were their crop. So when you look at the crop that is now in the young fighters, you know, look at IG yesterday after the fight or early today. Jahai Tucker went on IG and said, "Hey y'all, I'm up at 154 now. Hey Xander says, let's get it in." They all these guys know each other from the amateurs. They're not secrets to each other. A lot of them fought each other. Ryan and Devin fought in the amateurs. They want to fight each other in the pros. It's only new to the fans because the fans are just really getting to know who they are as fighters. But to the coaches in the boxing circle, they all know each other. They be like, "Oh, it's not a shock. Man, he's scared of him." These kids ain't scared of each other. They've been fighting
You've always
each other
said
for
that.
years.
You've always said that.
They don't fear each other. There's no fear. Can one beat the other one? Yes. Can one outbox the other one? Yes. Can one knock the other one out? Yes. But as far as fearing each other, they don't fear each other. You know, like I said, these guys have been in the ring with each other for years, whether it was at USA training camps, USA tournaments, international competitions. They've been dueling with each other. Only difference now, the gloves are smaller. So that guy that might have been a good boxer, but not the A+ boxer, but had good power, when you got at the pro level, that good power might have changed because now you got these small gloves on. Mm-hmm. The headgear gone. Now they 3 minutes. Ain't no pity patting. Now it's lumber laying. That guy might be the top guy now. When you look at it, how many times do we see the Olympic gold medalists or the Olympic silver medalists? You know, how often do we see them not become the man in their division, but it was a guy that wasn't an Olympian, didn't win no medal, at the pro level, he the man in their division. Because that pro level is different from amateurs. Amateurs and pros ain't the same. That is totally different.
You know, speaking on that, do you find that with a lot of young amateurs who become professional boxers that they still have those tendencies of the amateurish background coming into fights? And how do you break those tendencies when you become a professional?
For me, if you have a young kid whose desire is to be an Olympian and win a gold medal, you got to make him the greatest amateur or greatest amateur of his time in order to achieve that goal. But you got to also remember, children and boxers are much the same. When a child is born, they learn everything or the majority of their connective things in the first 5 or 6 years of life. And then they develop their habits. Their habits are based on what they learn. Mm-hmm. Much the same as a boxer. If you have a boxer and you bring him into the amateurs and you teach him the amateur way of life, he becomes a great amateur. But the problem happens when you trying to turn him over into a pro. Once again, you trying to break every habit you taught him that was right and make it different. You know, for me, I never want to do that with my son. You know, even in the amateurs, he don't throw a lot of punches. He don't do this, he don't do that. I wasn't trying to make an Olympian. I was trying to give him his on-the-job training in the amateurs so that he'd be ready to be a pro. And that's the part that I think a lot of people miss out on, or coaches, because they try to make the Olympian so we can get the big bucks before we turn pro. It's not a necessity. There's a lot of guys that make big bucks in the pros that never were Olympians. I look at some of the guys that I like, you know, especially the consistent ones. If you look at Roy never had an amateur style. Roy Jones Jr. was looking like a pro even as an amateur. You look at Jaron Ennis. Jaron Ennis always had that style of a pro. when I talk to Bozy, you know me and Bozy real close. I never get Bozy's concepts, knowledge, or thought patterns of I'm trying to make a great amateur. It's like I'm using amateurs to teach my son how to be a pro. I took the same thing. What's the use in you taking your young fighter, like you seen me do with Jalil over the years, to spar with pros when I'm trying to make a great amateur? That don't make sense because it's two different games.
Yeah.
It's two different games. So for me, I went to the spar with the great pros because I was trying to see what would make us a better pro when it was that time, not make us a great amateur. You know, I just look at it different. I think you get those special guys that can just do things differently. But even those guys, when you look at them, they never were amateurs in my opinion. They never succumbed to this throw a billion punches, everything at the head, don't touch the body. Or you see them, well, you see some of the amateur fights, and they be chest to chest. And they don't, it's the funniest thing I ever see. One of my little guys. Hey, Lil. Yeah. Come here real quick. It's so funny. And I wonder what they getting out of it. Matter of fact, hold, that's all right. Little man, let me come here for a minute. Come here for a minute. Oh, yeah. They be in the amateurs, and this is the craziest thing I ever see. And I never see the top guys. The Bruce Andersons, the Roy Jones Jr.'s, the Shakur Stevensons, the Javante, none of them dudes did this, but I see all these guys, they say, he's a top amateur. This is what I see at amateur fights. Come here. What is this? And they talk about keep your hands moving. You scoring points. Why would you teach a kid that that's all right? But the whole system teaches them. You got officials that are giving you points for that stuff. You have
for what you just showed me.
They giving them. You got to look at the fights. Look at the amateur fights.
Yeah, that's true.
They getting points for that. You got coaches talking about that's how we do it. That's how we do it. They chest to chest doing this. And you teaching that? I'm not gonna teach but if that's what wins you a gold medal, let them do that. But you get to the pros and you do that with somebody at the pro level,
you going to sleep. You going to sleep.
It don't make sense. You see that, you see, hold your hands up. You see a kid like this, right? This what you see him teaching, watch this. What the world is that? When you telling a kid, that's great. You win a gold medal or you win all these international competitions, but then when you gotta turn pro, they gotta teach you to sit down.
On your punches.
How much time they got? They don't have a whole career to teach you how to sit down because when you come out there, you got your gold medal. If you make it that far and you do it, congratulations. But then within the next 3.5 to 4 months, they want to see you in a pro fight. They want to see you in a pro fight. When I look at like some of them, like I said, some of the guys do learn it. They figure it out. Shakur lost the gold medal. He got a silver medal. The guy that he fought for the gold medal, I'm not sure his name. It escapes me. I think he lost either his pro debut or his second fight.
Wow.
I mean, because that concept of that style is not beneficial. I'd rather teach my kid how to be a great pro. And if you win at the amateur level, cool. But if you don't, our goal was to get to the pros and be great. But if that's not your goal, then you should be with a coach who has the same goal as you. You have some coaches who have the goal to be amateur coaches, and that's it. I want to be the great amateur coach. I want to get on the USA team as a coach. I want to go to the Olympics as a coach. That's it. That's the perfect coach for you because he's developed the perfect amateur concept. But if you got a pro coach, it's changing. I look at football, and when you look at let's take what Deion Sanders did, you know, what he did at Jackson State. Deion was able to do that not because he may have been the greatest coach ever to coach football, but because he taught them kids an NFL concept. Deion wasn't teaching them how to be the greatest high school players or college players. He was saying, Slim, if you want to get to the pros, you better learn how we do it. He taught them that. You see, we brought T.O. and other pros. They learned in that. So them dudes went out there. Deion was demolishing because he taught him how to. So that is how the concept goes.
You know what's crazy with that situation with Dion, right? I see it to where they had to stop a train or avalanche from happening, because what he was doing down there in Jackson was going to spread like wildfire with what he was doing with the HBCUs and the major players.
Dion opened up the door for these presidents at HBCUs. Man, go get y'all one of them ex-NFL players that was at the great level of the game. Bring them in here. That whole. Everybody know Jackson State. Mm-hmm. Before Dion got there, everybody didn't know Jackson State. If you were African American and you were East Coast African American, down South African American, you know, it's West Coast guys that didn't know
at all.
They don't know the culture at HBCU. So Dion really changed the culture, and I hope other coaches or wannabe coaches from the NFL who want to start their coaching career, I hope they do jump in and go to some of these HBCUs, because Dion changed it. But Dion also opened the eyes, because once again, kids started saying, "I'm gone."
Yeah, them 5 stars started saying, "Talk."
So once again, that tell
them
you.
Power Fives like, "Oh, we can't have this. We either got to bring you in, be with us."
That mean that they looking for something, and you got to be cognizant of what it is. That showed you. Dion showed you the top kids will come play at HBCU, but you gotta make them wanna come play there. You gotta make them wanna come play there. It ain't just, oh, come play here, this is it. Nah. When they was talking about, you know, the games on TV, HBCU has good athletes at HBCUs, but we gotta, I don't know, entice the even better ones to come, and they'll be on TV every Saturday. I don't just want to see HBCU on TV when they put them against a Power 5 to get a check to get blowed out.
To get blowed.
You want to see some real competitive games, but you got to put the competitive part like Dion was doing and getting them to come there. You know, I hope Jackson State finds another coach that can do the same thing Dion was and keep it up. Because if, let's just say they fall off, 2 years from now, they back to mid-level or bottom of the HBCU barrel, then it's like, well, maybe Dion did do what needed to be done to fix it. You know, I hope it get better for those kids. I hope it stay good for them. But for the ones that transferred, once again, they went to a team, they went to a school. But when you a top prospect coming out of high school, your prospection is your outlook is to get to the league. So everything you got to do for yourself. Yeah, I might be a member of a team. The school might be a family. But on draft night, they only draft individuals.
Hey, but no, I gotta ask you, man, how you do it to maintain with Jalil, knowing you got a fight coming up this week, and then 3 weeks later, back in the ring again?
I'm gonna say the same thing I say to him. We have a fight December 17th. That's what
and they looking nothing past that.
December 17th. I'm so focused on this fight. Man, I told Coach Zoe, the coach with me. He was so I said, man, look, I want a pair of camouflage pants for the rest of Jalil's career. I'm gonna put them camouflage pants on, because everything is a war. It's a mental war, it's a physical war, it's a war within yourself, for him making weight, it's a war within ourselves as coaches, making sure that we have everything in order. This is only entertainment to the people in the stands. To all the gladiators, this is war. So I don't want no escaping of that concept mentally. And if you got to keep doing something physically until it's programmed in your head, then you got to do it. You know, I want to do the throwback to Marvin Hackett when he fought Tommy Hearns. He had the red baseball cap, so he said war. That's it.
No, because the reason I asked you that question, because I know people started to hit you there because they heard about the card in DC. You know how they get, don't y'all find out about them tickets?
Bro, we just concerned about the fight. Like I said, anybody can ask me about the next fight on the
18th. On the 18th.
On the 18th, they can ask me what's that. But as of now, I don't even want to talk about nothing but the 17th.
Have you know your opponent well yet?
I told you before in interviews, I really don't study the opponent as much as I game plan for him.
You've always said that. You've always said that.
If I spend my time studying the opponent, I'm trying to figure out how to stop him from doing what he does best. I don't think I'm always concentrating on what Jalil does best. If I concentrate on what he do best, then they should study him. Because if I'm game planning not to let them do their best, I'm not game planning for Jalil to do his best. And there are some fighters. I mean, there are fighters, great fighters, who must game plan to stop the other person from doing what they do best. That is what they do best. They stop the other person from doing it. But Jalil, he got all the pieces. He got size. He got definitely conditioning. He got punching power. I'm gonna make him put what he does on display first, and then we see where we are from there. You know, I don't want to get him in a situation where we're second guessing. Well, I thought he was going to do this. Then he did this. No. I watch most of the time I usually watch opponents that they fought. Honestly, I look to see how they did against other fighters, especially if they fought fighters that I respect. There's fighters that I don't respect you because you undefeated. I respect you because of the way I see you fight. When I see those guys and I see how you did against them, then I do my measuring of how I want to pursue this fight. Some good joints. When Darrell fought Saki Obika the first time, I like Saki Obika, not in that fight, but as a fighter, because he always brings his A game to the table. Whether you like his A game or don't like his A game, he live and die with what he do well. That's my thing. I want to live and die with what we do well.
You know, I got to ask you about this before we wrap it up, Bernard. Y'all went out to Vegas for a week or two, I think, for training out there. You know, one of the things, I saw that video with Floyd giving much props to Jalil and follow him on Instagram. You see the things now with Tank, you know, coming into his grown man, doing his own thing right now. Do you see now a situation where a lot of that's gonna fall on Jalil to be the face of Mayweather Promotions maybe one day?
Hope so. Hope so. That's the hold on. Here you go, brother. Yeah.
All right, man.
Like I said, Jalil, I didn't choose where he signed. Jalil chose where he signed. And I made that a point of emphasis for me because he has to live with this. He wanted to be there. And he said, man, I've always looked up to Floyd as a fighter. I want to have him working with me, so, you know, that worked out for him where he was able to sign with Mayweather Promotions. If everybody leave the fold, then you got to carry it on your back. I got to tell them all the time. Lil Wayne put Cash Money on his back, and I don't think they did too bad when everybody left.
You know, that's a great example. That's a great example right there. Where you use the Lil Wayne analogy, man. Especially with the Lil Wayne and Baby. You use that Jalil and Floyd situation analogy.
And my thing is, like I said, even looking at it in the other direction, Tank want to spread his wings. Yeah, he has earned the right to do whatever he wants to do. You know, Floyd created a situation where a young man learned a lot. And even Tank said, we still could be working together. He said it in an interview. You know, I think people create beef, or people create narratives that work for them. Whether it's bloggers, whether it's YouTubers, whatever it is. We ain't seen Tank verbally say, I hate Floyd. We ain't seen Floyd verbally say, I hate Tank. But people want to read into it. From my understanding, this is what he mean by this.
You know, that's a great point right there, because I listen to the Rise podcast all the time, and they always show Floyd love on there.
Yeah, I mean, once again, you got the clickbait guys. It works for them. Clickbait works for them. But until I hear Floyd say I hate Tank out of his own mouth, you hear Tank say I hate Floyd out of his mouth, how am I speculating? To me, I think this created the best of both worlds for my son.
Yeah.
My son with Mayweather Promotions, who showed they can make a stop. They moved Tank to where Tank is the cash cow of his generation. My son has developed a great relationship with Tank. You know, how can you lose? I don't see how you lose, you know. I just think people try to read in whatever is good for them to get clicks on YouTube. If that's what they want, go ahead and get it. But for me, my son, we got a great relationship with both of them. His promoter is Mayweather Promotions. His friend is Javante Davis, Coach Calvin, Coach Kenny. I don't see how you go wrong. I don't see how you go wrong at all. You know, I think they always try to pit us against each other. When it come to the African American community, they don't pit no other community gets pitted against each other like we do. But it's up to us to fall for it. You don't see 1,000 Latino media outlets every single day
Going at their Latino fighters.
and making them have to be enemies. You don't see it. But when you look at our community, you see every day African American people who are YouTubers or whatever they are, bloggers, always using the only narrative of creating some sort of strife or turmoil in order to get views and clicks. I don't see the sense in it. I love going to the fights. I love going to the weigh-ins. I'm a fan of fighters. You don't never see me too bold to say, hey, can I get a picture with a fighter? Hey, Jalil, take a picture with this fighter. Because at the end of the day, I respect them all. They all put their life on the line. The average person on YouTube talking about...
They ain't never getting in the ring.
Ain't never been in a ring. Ain't never getting in a ring. They ain't had a hard argument that didn't result in running to the police. So all that stuff, I don't pay it no mind. I just look at my son's career, know the steps we gotta take to get where we wanna go, and I'm glad we got good people like Nana Ellaby, Floyd Mayweather, Javante Davis, Coach Kenny, Coach Calvin, Boots, Bozy. Good people in our corner.
It's like a village, man, for real.
When you was with us at Tank's joint, we seen you up there.
Yeah.
Bozy see me across the room. Hey man, where my guy?
Where my guy? When y'all coming up to the new spot?
Thank you. Because we really have that type of relationship. They really know where my son trying to get to. They really know the pitfalls, the struggles that they had to get there. If you really trying to see something grow, you take stumbling blocks out the way. What's meant for you, meant for you. What you eat don't make me shit. And that's why I like dealing with Kenny, Calvin, and Bozy. Because they really open their arms up. I look at Bozy, when we came up there, when him and Boots spot, he wasn't, hey, don't take no picture. Well, take pictures, bro. They getting good work. Respect.
Yep.
Calvin, all the time, same thing. Jalil sparred with Tank, they did 15 straight rounds. Calvin didn't have to mention that to nobody on the planet. He brought it up. We didn't say nothing.
You never talk about it.
Never talk about it. He said, man, I bought that kid and they did 15 rounds. Tank, man, yeah, he bought it, we did 15 rounds. Them dudes don't have to say that. For everybody to get this confusion, when they talk that real nigga, real whatever, let me tell you, the definition of that, for everybody to understand, not when you did what you have to do or are supposed to. A real nigga is when you do something that you didn't have to do. Tank don't never gotta mention my son. Calvin Kenny don't never gotta mention my son. They got the golden goose. They got the cash cow. Bozy don't have to never mention my son. He posting pictures with my son. Boots don't have to ever accept one of Jalil calls.
You know, that's a great point because the day of Tank press conference made it a point to look for Jalil. Hey, Jalil, you on that card, right?
Yeah, them real niggas. So when they people talk about real, we gonna be real, no cap, all that craziness. They real. They real. So when I know everybody like to take cuts out and take pieces out, that's the cut piece. I don't never ask you to post that. When people talk about what is a real nigga or what is a real this or no cap, that's the piece I just told you. So if the people in your circle ain't that, they ain't real, Chad.
Hey man, I appreciate your time as always, Bernard.
Anytime, bro. Anytime.
Order ropes, Bernard Hackett. We out.
Appreciate y'all. You know what I mean? Jalil, you on the card? For sure. So, look, young Jalil on the card. So, come back home to boogie, baby. You know what I mean? So, I appreciate everybody for coming out. Once again, we're gonna go back into training camp. We're not sleeping on this guy. I know 2 fights lined up, but this the main one that we focus on because, you know what I mean? There's been a lot of talks in the boxing world, and I ain't really trying to do no more talk. I'm ready to, you know what I mean, go through everybody, you know what I mean, that's in my way, so, or in that division, that 135 division, so. But, you know what I mean, this Garcia is the first person that we got to focus on, so we gotta get through him first. So, again, I appreciate y'all for coming out. See y'all January the 7th.
Okay. This question's for Tank. This is Edward on the Ropes Boxing. I wanted to talk about you put yourself in a situation where you wanted to help the next generation. You talked about that at the press conferences in Baltimore, that you've always wanted to help those that are coming behind you. I wanted to talk about a young man, Jalil Hackett, who's here from DC, who's been a part of your training camps in the past. First got to meet him at the age of 16 in your camp. Why was it important for him to be on your card?
We've been knowing Jalil since he was you know what I mean? So it's definitely important to, you know what I mean, have a guy like him, because I'm not too far from him. Like, I was, you know what I mean, coming up just like him, you know what I mean, in DC, and coming in rooms like this when damn near Adrian and Lamont and Anthony was all them was, you know what I mean? So I'm just doing what, you know what I mean, I feel as though it's right. I feel as though that's the way to do it, you know what I mean? And he's a next young lion.